Yo, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to part two, the final part of watching Tokyo Ghoul in 2024. In part one, we went over season one. It was honestly a great season. It was really easy to talk about because it was just all love. Now we're in part two, where we're talking about season two and season three. A lot harder to talk about. It's really good and at the same time really bad. It's just a whole lot of mixed feelings, a lot of good things and a lot of bad things. So we can kind of get into it. Season two, and what would you think of it?
So season two, I thought was a perfect way to like lead us from season one, and continue the story. Really good fights. I really liked how like early on Kaneki and Ayato team up, even though I was kind of well, I guess he joins Algiri Tree to like commit to getting stronger. We see that at the end of season one when he's getting tortured by Jason. He's got to get stronger. He has to embrace who he really is. And we get a lot of that in season two, a lot of like growth from Kaneki, a lot of strength. But we also see him kind of hesitate. He doesn't want to lose his humanity, he doesn't want to lose who he truly is. And you see that through some of the other interactions he has with people like Hide and obviously Toka and the manager. Like he starts asking more questions. So we get a lot more from Kaneki, and I think the story begins to unfold bit by bit as season two progresses. And I really like that style of delivery, I guess you could say, because season one did a good job of like giving you the story in chunks that were like easy to digest. Whereas season three, and we'll get into that, I feel like does not do that right. So season two, I thought was almost perfect. I thought it was really good up until the finale. The fight's fucking awesome, very entertaining.
Yeah, like what you're saying in part one for season one is that, a lot of things were really good about the first season, but it was really driven by the story. The story was just perfect. I felt like in season two, we saw a little bit of a knockback on the story just because there was stuff missing. There was stuff that didn't make a whole lot of sense. Season two is where we started to see, some differences from the manga and the anime, and also some things that were left out, some, chapters that were, just tossed aside, especially towards the end. The beginning was very little, but then it seems like at the end, that's where everyone was talking about. There was a lot that was missed and a lot that was rushed, which makes the ending very confusing. But I feel like the fight scenes are what really kind of stepped up. There's a lot more fighting. I felt like that the actual animations in the scenes themselves were very, very cool and just awesome to watch. So I thought season two was like really good. Like if we're gonna have to rate the seasons, I think season one was an easy 10 out of 10. I think season two was more like an 8 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10, just because, again, when there's information missing, it kind of makes things confusing, and you don't want to be confused when you're watching an anime. You don't want to be wondering, hey, like, what's going on? That's my least favorite goddamn game, is what the fuck's happening? You know what I mean? That happens sometimes, like with Blue Exorcist. I'm not going to get into it. I'm still mad about it. So, I thought season two was really good in that aspect where it was kind of like, it wasn't perfect, but I think it was still very well done and still very enjoyable.
I'm definitely with you. I think I didn't really look into like the animation or like the studios or who produced scenes or anything. But I thought the choreography was noticeably better, and I think maybe that plays into the way the story is written as everybody gets, or Kaneki especially, gets stronger, and you introduce people like Juzo. I thought Suzuya was a really good fighter rather, and he was like creative and unique compared to everybody else. So I felt like the attention to detail was maybe a little deeper in some aspects, or more similar to season one than season three. But I will say, I know as a manga reader, like if I had read Tokyo Ghoul in its entirety or close to its entirety and then watch this through, I could see you being upset or frustrated at the way they cut chapters out or had to adapt the anime to fit a certain time limit or, whatever the case may be for them. So I could see how that was like frustrating as a fan, but I still think season two, I would agree with you, was an 8, maybe a step back from season one, but a lot of that for me comes up at the end because I like the questions.
Absolutely.
Kaneki asked. I'm thinking like episode 16, 17, 18, like you start learning more about both like CCG and their intentions and what Kaneki's trying to get at, and you start to get inside Kaneki's head and like see what his game is. But then really once we get up to the end, like especially that last episode, because I think everything's cool, like the build up is cool, the fights are cool up until the end. He has that conversation with Rize at the end of season one. Like that was cool. You know what I mean? There was like a deep emotional attachment to that. I felt like I got some of that same stuff when Hide shows himself from the CCG and like brings him back to Anteku, or I guess yeah, Anteku. Some of that was like heavy hitting in a way, and I was like, all right, sick. This is still Tokyo Ghoul. But what did you think of the last episode? Because that's where I started to get a little a little fucked up, if you will.
Well, first of all, before that, I thought that the characters in season two were absolutely phenomenal. I thought that like we have the twins, we have deranged, unhinged Kaneki, which I absolutely my favorite part of him. I love season two
Yes.
Kaneki. I mean, oh, is it Druzo? Dude, I think he's so cool, and his like father figure, his dad, kind of in the CCG. I thought that was a really cool bond between them, and I don't know. I just thought there was a lot of really cool characters where I'm like, I love them. Arima, we kind of met him in season two, and it's kind of like there's just a whole lot of characters that you're like, all right, this is cool. I didn't think that season one characters were bad, and a lot of them still were in season two, but I just thought season two characters just hit a lot different. But yeah, coming towards the end, it was just like confusing. Not only that, but some of the fights weren't as built up as they were in the manga. There wasn't as much explanation of why they were fighting and kind of like what was going on in the fights. A lot of the relationships between the two people, which then led to the ending being very confusing about like why is he turning himself in? Why is he going to the CCG? And that entire mess. So the ending is really where you kind of saw a lot be left out, and that's what caused a lot of confusion of like what is going on? Why is he just up and bailing?
Yeah, I think one point I want to make is like it was easy to fall in love with the characters in season one, and like you kind of grow with them through the story. I felt like you got a lot of that in season two. Like Ammon, his like progression, his character growth was really good. Um, and his partner, what's his name's daughter, Mato's daughter, like that relationship kind of like you see it unfold in season two, and that's really cool. Shout out for Ammon, good man, strong man. Um, and then like his resolve to continue to fight Kaneki despite knowing who Kaneki really is. Like he's still that good, can be still that good, sweet kid, or is he lost? You know what I mean? As they kind of square up at the end there, as like everything is just falling the fuck apart.
Oh yeah, they
That
had
was a really good
multiple
fight.
interactions, multiple kind of little scuffles throughout the season two, didn't they?
Yeah, and
It
it
was kind
all
of in
kind
the
of like
lead up. Yeah.
yeah, and he gets his ass kicked by Ammon early in season two too, which is sick. Like, yeah, I feel like the way, I guess the point I'm trying to make is like the way like you grow with these characters is organic. They bring you some new CCG guys, but like they give you that emotional attachment with Juzo, right? Like they humanize them a little bit, and it's like, all right, these people, they have relationships from season one and like moving forward. So the character work, I guess I want to say, in season two was really, really well done. And I like that you could like grow with these new characters, even though you had a really good established cast from season one already.
Yeah, I also really love Jerza as a character, mainly because
Yeah.
like it's like that kid has been through so much, you know what I mean? And a lot of his relationships were really complicated, but I like how he never sat there and like was a victim. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
that's a kid who's been through hell and like had all those scars. And he's like, well, I don't hate my scars. You know what I mean? Like each scar like taught me something and like meant something to me. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like I feel like Jerzo was one of those people that was like really messed up, but he was never upset. He always was happy. He was always kind of doing his own thing. He's always walking to his own beat in life, and like he's chaotic and he's absolutely batshit insane. But I liked how they had that. You know what I mean? They had someone who's just been through a lot, and they're like, he's just himself. He's just gonna keep going. He's doing what he wants, and he's saying what he wants, and like you can see that he was still loved by like that guy from the CCG, and he was still important. And I think that
Hmm.
that was a very unique character design, and I thought it was very cool. I really like that about him.
Yeah, there was a lot of like really good characters. I feel like the owl, obviously, like really sick. I want to say his name's Yoshimura. Some of the names were like kind of hard to keep track, and by like the end of season three, I was so fucking lost with all the names. Like there were,
Oh
and
my
part of
god,
it was
yeah,
like I couldn't really make an attachment to a lot of the characters in season three. But before I get into that, I will say Kaneki Ken, goated anime character of all time, triple S tier, love you, bro.
absolutely, absolutely.
Him carrying Hide to Arima at the very end of fucking season two was so deep. I was like literally sitting there like really, really good. But the lack of explanation I think we get from either the story writers of the anime or just give me a shitty cutscene that says like, and after the fight XYZ happened and next year this happened. Like at
Mm,
least we would have a reference as we move into season 3 because they give you nothing. Like I think after the credits we get that scene of like Toka sweeping outside of the new like Anteku, like her coffee shop, which was
yeah.
cute. I thought that was like a cool, I don't know, Easter egg, plot point, whatever you want to call it. But like we kind of knew that's how Toka felt, and that's what she wanted to do since her friend asked her in season 1. To not really know what happened to Kaneki, I feel like was kind of crazy. I guess like they're leaving you on a cliffhanger, but they don't do a good job of explaining it. Whereas everything I read online was like, oh, you know, XYZ happens in the manga, and that's why it's not explained.
Yeah, so like before we even get into that too, I think the whole Hide situation was complete bullshit that they brought him back. That was fucking so stupid. That ruined that entire moment. That he was still alive the entire time.
Yeah, it totally defeats the purpose. And like, I
Yeah.
feel like I knew Hide knew about Kaneki being a ghoul, but he was a good friend and didn't
Well, he
come
tried
out
to
with it or like,
bring it up. He tried to go up to Kaneki all the time, and it's kind of like, hey, like you can come to me with this. You know what I mean? Like Kaneki just kept pushing him away. He knew that Kaneki was a ghoul. It was obvious, and he was just trying to be like, hey, dude, like I still accept you. Like we can still be friends. But Kaneki just kept pushing him away, kept pushing him away, and like was ignoring it. And then you had this scene where he, despite everything, went out of his way, tried to save Kaneki, and ended up dying. And then that's what ends up, you know, Kaneki bringing his dead body to the CCG in a real impactful moment. But then in season 3, at the end, we end up realizing that, oh, yeah, by the way, that moment was bullshit because he was alive the entire time.
yeah, honestly, like did not hit for me. Like when you get to season 3, like it totally ruins that moment. I totally agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then even like to give that moment context, Hide had always kind of like just shown up. He's got a job with the CCG one day. He's like just happens to be wherever they are the next day, like which was kind of cool. But like, Kaneki is like dying, right? He's like trying to recover and heal himself, and then out of nowhere, as he starts to like come to his senses, Hide just like exposes this mortal wound out of nowhere. Like we didn't see how he got cut or hit, or at least maybe I
No, we
missed it. But
did.
like,
Yeah, you missed it. He
what
was.
what happens?
It showed him. It showed him navigating the streets. It showed him like navigating the streets, looking for the through the alleyways. You know, kind of like all over the fights. You know, looking for Kaneki. And I think he last minute kind of turned the corner and had an encounter with one of the ghouls and got stabbed. And he ended up fighting him off.
Okay,
And then he ends up, you know, kind of like not crawling, but like dragging himself to the coffee shop, and that's where they end up seeing him. Yeah, it was kind of like very like little because it was kind of just like showing it at like a couple seconds at a time, like randomly throughout the a couple episodes.
yeah,
But yeah, you're absolutely right. They kind of just kind of had him there. And then yeah, like the whole idea of like apparently there was a way more lead up and information about why he went to the CCG, like Will Kaneki, like bringing his body back and everything like that. But that was never explained. And then like I was telling you, like dude, season 3 is fucking bullshit. Because I was watching season 3 while you're watching season 2. I'm like, it's bullshit because they just throw you like a couple years ahead and don't give you any explanation even throughout the season. It's not like, oh, we're gonna fill in the missing pieces. It's just like you don't know anything. You don't know what happened, how he was experimented on, like what was going on. Like it was just the dumbest thing for me. And honestly, that new character, that his new self, fucking hated that guy. Couldn't stand him.
Sasaki's a bum.
Not only that, but it's like you spent 2 seasons building a character and then you're just gonna have this character randomly thrown in and that's gonna be Kaneki. It's like, dude, I fucking hated that.
I could like so my personal stance on season 3, having not read the manga and everybody kind of trashes it, right? I kind of like the first 5 episodes, the build up with like the auction. It's like, all right, like you know, we have like a ton of new characters, a new squad. Sasaki Hayase is actually
Kaneki.
um yeah, Kaneki. So like for me being a very low IQ individual, having like 500 new names pile into the series was like a little tricky, and it's like, all right, let's rock with these new people. You see like the people they're hunting, the ghouls they're hunting, and like basically the CCG's objective, and especially the Quinks. Hard to say. Not a fan of the name either. The Quinks squad. I
Yeah.
think I'm spitting all over the screen. The Quink squad is like going after the remnants of season 1 and 2. So like these S rank ghouls like Orochi ends up being Nishio from the first two seasons. And like, I always thought he was one of the weakest ghouls in the show, right? He's like a bottom feeder in the back alley. And now he's like an S rank ghoul to the CCG. Like, I felt like that was unexplained. And like, I know the end of season two, like you had said, the manga gives a lot of context and information and kind of what Arima does to Kaneki to like make the events of season three genuine, I guess.
Yeah.
But without reading it, you really have no context. So the first five episodes for me was like, all right, brand new story. We're getting ready for the auction. You know, you watch how they work together and infiltrate Big Madam's like palace or whatever, that like same kind of deal Sukiyama had been doing. I mean, it was like, all right, this is still entertaining. I'm not really attached emotionally to the story. And then they like reintroduce Hinami, and it's like, all right, she's a little older. Like, you see remnants, I think, of season two, and it's like, all right, where is this gonna go? Kind of like in that first half of season three, that first 12 episode chunk.
Yeah, for me, it was actually kind of like the opposite. For me, it was kind of like the beginning was just really bad. I had no idea
I
what was
feel you.
going on. I was like, what the fuck is all this? It's been a couple of months. It's been a while since I've watched season two. So, like, also remembering all the people from season two was a complete mess. I was kind of like trying to figure things out. But then as things kind of got together and the ball started getting rolling, that's when I started liking it a lot more. I was kind of like, oh, okay, now it's starting to make a lot more sense. You know, the pieces are starting to come together. But to me, season three was just muddy. I feel like that's just the best word to say.
Yes.
Kaneki's new character, like, it just made the whole character itself muddy. Because, like, why are we introducing a new goddamn personality and then you have all this backlash? Like I said in the part one video, is that, like, the CCG, they're so annoying because they despise ghouls. They're so disgusting and despicable, but yet they're doing so much to be, like, wannabes. You know, in season two, they had those suits that was straining their life force so to give them extra strength that came from ghouls. Instead of having a weapon, they were making suits of armor, and it's like you're trying to like completely harness the power, and then you're making these quinks where like they're like a knockoff of ghouls. It's like, dude, like, fuck you. Like, how are you gonna be so hypocritical and so like so judgmental and like despise ghouls like that, and then do everything you can to like pretty much become one, and but then still be, you're all like on your high horse, like, oh, I'm so superior. Like, dude, I hate the CCG.
I feel like the writing in season three completely like negated what we had worked up with like Mato and Ammon in season one, and then Shinohara and Juzo in season two. Like, you know, we all don't really root for the ghouls, but like we use what power we can, and like there's still negative effects from using the suits. Like, it felt a little more legit, I guess, like a little less plot armory. And they did have the weapons, but like they would get destroyed or they weren't that strong or depended on the quality
Yeah.
of ghoul they were made out of. So like there was still, I think, more story there than just like what we got in season three.
Yes, dude, season three, the story was also just so bad because, like, okay, first of all, you're gonna have Arima be the one-eyed king. Like, okay, that fight didn't even last that long. We kind of, it was kind of like the worst kept secret. Like, it was kind of obvious that it was him. They really hinted it on. But then it's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's him. But then there's no like build up to it. It was just like, yes, I am the one eyed king, and then Kaneki kills him. And then you also have all the Rize. Like, how much of DNA did Rize just leave behind? Because like they're giving it to everybody. It was used for Kaneki, obviously, which makes a lot of sense. But then it's like, okay, well, this overpowered kind of thing that was given to Kaneki, we're also going to give it to like everybody else. But towards the end, everyone that attacked him had Rize's what's it called? Like her DNA and
Her
stuff.
Kagune,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's like, I thought that was absolute bullshit. I think the story and the writing in season three just went completely downhill.
That was my biggest complaint. And I want to say maybe two or three episodes in, I was like, somebody different wrote this. And it feels very Western to me, which is not a bad thing. But like when you have a really good thing, just keep going with it. You know, if
Yeah.
it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like a couple examples I would give were like the actual dialogue, like in the fights, like they would literally repeat the same line like 50 times. And they did that through the entire season. And it just felt like lazy writing, and it gave some of those new characters like little depth. You know what I mean? And that's not even to like argue some of the plot points at the end, which I thought the true end of season three was a total fumble. Like how Arima gets offed is like very
That should
anticlimactic.
have
I
been the
feel like
whole season. Finding
yes,
out who
because
it is,
he
the build up to the
is
fight,
the
and then the fight.
orchestrator.
Yeah.
Yes, and he knows the true like scientific advantages of being half ghoul. He knows like really who's who and who's made of what. Arima is the mastermind of the story. So for Farut, dude, I can't even say this guy's name. Faruta, his family,
Yeah.
like, and that whole like lineage of being like the one true king. Like I just felt like they couldn't have fumbled that any harder. And to me, it felt like they didn't have the end of the story. And I haven't like looked into this too much. Like maybe the manga wasn't finished yet, and they're like, all right, this is how we're gonna end it. I don't know if that's true or not. Like I know Full Metal Alchemist kind of had that situation.
No,
But it
so
felt like they were
the ending
yeah,
of
go ahead.
Tokyo Ghoul, the guy was just tired of it. That's what I read. Is that like he was thinking about Tokyo Ghoul nonstop, was always thinking about it, and he's like, I can't stand this anymore. So he just tossed an ending on it and just was done with it.
I kind of get that from like Akutami from Jujutsu Kaisen. Like it's super stressful and like the constant
It becomes your
like
life, and a lot of people don't like that.
yeah, not everyone's meant to be like, Kishimoto or Oda and rock a
Yeah.
20-year story. So like I totally understand that, and I guess that makes a lot more sense. But it's a shame because the ending really just felt like you were like grasping at plot points. But now that you say that, I guess it explains the very poorly explained ending we get at the end of the show.
Yeah, I mean,
Ugh.
like doing the One-Eyed King would have been a much better story, would have been a much better season instead
Yes.
of just having like this really cool thing kind of go off. But at the same time, I like how they made an absolute clown circus show of the CCG of how it was really a
Yeah.
ghoul the entire time that was running the whole thing, and then the one kind of runs in and it's kind of like, oh, yep, let's make a joke of this. Let's just have the world to burn type thing. I thought that was pretty interesting, but like the whole thing with Rize's DNA just being tossed around like you can buy it at the goddamn dollar store was bullshit. I think that really took away from Kaneki his connection with her, and I didn't think that was like cool at all. Like I said, I think a lot of the writing just completely went downhill, and it's kind of like, dude, like what are you guys doing? But like there was also some cool scenes, like if okay, one of the cool things that I really liked is when he was kind of becoming the king, and when that one guy was going against him, and he's kind of like, okay, well, where I'm from, it's all about strength. And you had that replay of the scene where he grabs Kaneki's leg and Kaneki twists and breaks it and kicks him into the wall. And he's like, "Doesn't
Yeah.
that hurt?" And he's like, "It's excruciating." That symbolism from the end of the first season was just the absolute best. I love seeing that moment. I was like, just got to see it again. But like the thing about season three that like really annoys me is like, okay, we're gonna say season one's 10 out of 10, season two 8 out of 10, right? For me, season three, like, did I enjoy watching it? Yes, because it was Tokyo Ghoul and I love the characters. But if it
Yeah.
was the first season and I was just watching it straight up, it's dog shit. None of it makes any sense. It was so confusing. You don't know what's going on half the time. It was just horribly written. It was just like so many things were just like so poorly done. Again, with like Rize's DNA and like other things like that. His best friend coming back to life. It's like it was enjoyable to watch, and I don't regret watching it. But like, definitely just fumbled. Like, I have to give it like a 4 out of 10. Like, it was just
Oh, my
so
man.
bad, just
We're
so
on the
bad.
same page. I was like trying to come up with like a fair and accurate number of like what would you really give this? I said season 2 was an 8 because of the ending,
Yeah.
and I was like 4 or 5. I feel like 4 is like if I was being harsh and accurate, I would give it a 4. If I was
I think
being
five's average, and I don't think it was average because you don't know what's going on. At the end of the day, you need to understand what the fuck you're watching. If you're confused and nothing's being explained, like that's below average.
I feel like if I was a manga reader, like I would have been like, yeah, they fucked it up or they rushed it or whatever. But you would have a better idea of what's really going on. Like season 3 was really hard for me to like, I guess, get attached to because there's a ton of new characters and plot points, and it's just like, whoa, we had a good thing going. Like, what the fuck? And they really undo a lot of, I guess, a lot of the major points in the first 2 seasons. Like the CCG was really like gaining some ground, and like, how did they not know who Arima really was? Did nobody ever ask like, hey, who the fuck actually are you? Like I
All
don't
the
know. I
ghouls
guess
knew. The ghouls, like, that's the cool part is that the ghouls knew because the one ghoul that fought him, he's like, oh, like I know who you are. I seen it in your eyes. So like that was pretty cool. But like also the thing is too, like you were saying, is that like you said two things that were kind of spot on. Like you guys got to remember we are anime only watchers. So like going into this, we had none of the context, none of the background. We had nothing explained. So the only information we're getting is from the anime, which is why season three we're a lot harsher on because we don't know shit. For you, it was frustrating to watch it because you kind of knew how good it should have been, but it isn't. But you can still understand the certain parts. For us, we have no idea. It is the most confusing thing ever. But the second part is too is that season three ruined the characters in my opinion because you took all these great characters and you ruined them. Kaneki is just now pushover that's like super weak and it's like brainwashed. You
yeah.
know, Juzo or whatever his name is, like dude, he became so much more tame and like he didn't feel like himself anymore. You know what I mean? He wasn't as like psychotic. He wasn't like just like bouncing on the balls of his feet, just ready to go. He like seemed like he matured, and I didn't really want that from that character. You know, Ayato. I mean, dude, they did Ayato so goddamn dirty
Yes, bro.
because he's just a character that's been stuck in the first gear the entire time. Like from the day we met him, he was like this cool character that was pretty strong. He had this cool dynamic, and like he was still cool through season two and season three, but he did not get stronger, not even for a little bit. I mean, it got to the point where they're fighting some tough people in season three, where Ayato's like, okay, I gotta step to the side, like I'm out of my element here. Like the fact that he didn't grow at all in the aspect of strength is bullshit, especially when you have that one girl with the eye patch. Can't stand her. How she
Yeah.
just got strength immediately. Like that stuff like that is so annoying when a character should have been growing over the past of a couple seasons like Ayato and then you have that girl with the eye patch where she just decides that she's madly in love with Kaneki and then she just goes crazy and now she's like super strong like that pisses me off. The fact that you couldn't even summon your what is it called again?
Your Kagune.
Yeah, she couldn't even summon her Kagane. Had like really no fighting skills, and then is now super strong. And they even, I think, some people who read the manga are going to fight me on this, just from the aspect that she apparently was really good with knives. Juzo said that she is really talented with her combat, but they don't show it in the anime. So like she is like a good fighter, just not with a Kagane. But yeah, then she gets her Kagane, and she's like this absolute beast that like even Kaneki is like sort of struggling to deal with and Toka is. Toka is like a strong ghoul. The fact that they made her like weak in season three is bull.
And I don't like the way they progress this shit. Like Ayato's like decent. He's hanging with Kaneki in the beginning of season three, or like season two and three. Like they're comparable almost in a way. And like Toka is getting left in the dust. Like all the Antiku folks are getting left in the dust. And then by the end of the show, they're like right up at the top, even though all Toka did was run a new coffee shop. But I guess
Yeah,
that like there's just so many plot holes I think that are frustrating. Ayato, I agree with you, really gets done dirty. Um, and like the ending was just a total mess. I think one thing that bothered me too was I felt like they could have used Eto a lot better. The author character, Sen
I
Tatsuki.
loved her. That was such a
I
very cool character.
loved her character. I thought she was great, and I thought she had a really important piece in the story. And I didn't really like the way they waited until the very end to like rush her out. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if she had showed up and even just give me one or two interactions, like how she meets Hinami at the bookstore and like immediately can tell who Kaneki Ken is and who Hinami is. Like that was cool. Like I would have liked her to meet Kaneki and maybe Popeye Antiku or something. You know what I mean? I would have liked to get a little more from her, and I feel like she could have been used a lot better in the story,
Yeah, I
a
think that
lot
she
sooner
was
maybe.
a really cool character. There's a lot of cool characters, and like I think that it kind of got out of hand with the whole aspect of ghouls and power because then it got to the point where like everyone is just this broken character where everyone's a one-eyed owl and everyone has these multiple
Hmm.
forms of transformation. It kind of felt like they weren't ghouls but like they were bionic robots. That's where I was kind of feeling at a certain aspect of it because it feels like they created this dynamic of what ghouls are and then just didn't follow it towards the end because they tried to like keep raising that
Yeah,
power level to the point where it got kind of absurd. You know what I mean? Kind of like if we're gonna go to Naruto, how like it got to the point where like they're destroying planets. You know what I mean? Like it got too far ahead of itself, and I just felt like it just felt weird because like season one, season two, it was simple. And I feel like with season three, it got so out of hand where you thought you killed something, and then it turns into this weird form of something else, and it's like, dude, what is going on? And Again, it's just a lot of things that were also just missing with explanation as well. But yeah, it's season 2 was solid, but season 3 did a lot dirty.
I agree with you. I would definitely recommend anybody to watch it, even if you think like if you hated every second of season 3. It is 24 episodes,
No, no,
so
no, no. That's the thing. I'd recommend people to do what I did the first time. Just
you
watch
won't
season
though.
1 and 2. Just watch season 1 and 2. That's what I actually recommend to people. Season 1 and season 2 are actually really, really good. And then I just spoil the ending for them. Just go have someone who read the manga, give you a brief description of what happens. Because like season 1 and season 2 were very good. It is a very good anime if you just look at those 2 seasons. But like, yeah, just don't even bother watching season 3. You're gonna be confused the whole goddamn time, and it's the same length as season 1 and 2. Like it has no reason to be.
Yeah, you're right. It was too long, and I think they tried to cram so much, so many different points into it. I would still recommend watching the show, whether you or not you watch season, excuse me, whether you watch season 3 or not. Like I would definitely encourage people to watch it or read it because Tokyo Ghoul does have amazing story and great characters. And don't let like my personal opinion or everybody's personal opinion of like a shitty season 3 like keep you from like finding a really good piece of art. Like the first 2 seasons really are a blast. You will enjoy them. If you like anime, you will enjoy it. And like the rumor is, I'm not sure if it's confirmed yet, that they're remaking Tokyo Ghoul. I think is badass, and
They
like
need to. They need to because it has so
if they
much.
could
It has
do it a
good
little bit.
bones.
Yeah, like even just run back seasons 1 and 2, change the art or animation if you have to, and then like give us a better ending. So like I'll sit through every second of season 3 to just on the like premise that we might get more. It's a great series. It's a great series, and there were moments I liked in season 3, but the ruining of such a great story I think was hard for me emotionally to get past as I like tried to invest in that
Yeah,
dog shit finale.
and it's not like a new thing that happens. Like I suggest that anyways. Like if there's an anime that's really good, but like they just have a really bad season or ending, I'd still recommend watching it. Like I said, I'd highly recommend Tokyo Ghoul to people. Just don't watch season 3. I'm gonna be watching Promise Neverland, even though season 2 apparently absolutely sucks. I'm still gonna watch season 1 because I heard season 1 was absolutely incredible. And then you kind of just bite through season 2 sometimes, or you bite through season 3 of Tokyo Ghoul, just cause you gotta experience it sometimes. But like I wouldn't say let a bad season uh ruin that experience for you. You should experience some of these really good animes, even if the studio absolutely destroys it at one point or another.
Yeah, I will say like we kind of did flame up season 3, which I feel like is in
It's
line with like the
deserved.
general.
It's
Yeah, it's the
deserved
general
though.
consensus. It did suck compared to the other two. It sucked compared to the other two, but in the grand scheme of things, it was still a really, really good anime that was just fumbled at the
Hmm.
end. So hopefully, upon remake, if that's confirmed to be true, I'll be there. I'll watch it. Hopefully, they do it a little bit better, but I still really enjoyed the series. It's amazing up until the up until season 3.
I mean, I
But
still give Tokyo Ghoul like a 9 out of 10, just simply because I just don't like acknowledge
and,
season 3.
and the first 2 seasons were so good, even for me. Like I didn't like season 3. I'd still give it like an 8 or a 9. I thought it was an
I
excellent
mean,
series, and
if we look
it's
on
really hard.
Crunchyroll, I'm pretty sure it's still rated like a 4.6 out of 5, even with season 3. So like it's still rated pretty high, considering how bad season 3
I
was.
I can see why, but yeah, definitely give it a chance if you haven't watched it. I feel like I was so behind. Everyone I know has watched Tokyo Ghoul, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, like finally catching up with like my friends and talking to you about like oh yo this was sick or whatever. Like
Yeah.
Kaneki really is that guy. It took like the whole first season, but that was a lot of fun, and I think everybody should at least watch it once.
Kaneki is a really good MC. Just dude, it's been a long
Dude,
day.
Travis Konechny.
Yeah.
Hell
It's
yeah.
been a long
Nah,
day.
Connect.
But yeah, I mean that's it, guys. Let us know if you agree with us, where you disagree with us, and just why. If you read the manga and you want to fill us in a little bit, we'd appreciate
Please do.
that.
Please give us some context. Do what they didn't do for us,
Yeah,
please.
please. But that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. But yeah, peace.